Okay, everybody, Rob here, Rock Hard Music. I recently put out a video of where I believe Chad Gray of Mudvayne was taking shots at Motley Crue, saying that they should just bow out now because of what they've become. I did not expect this to bring out, the old heated backtracks and past their prime and all that stuff. But I just want to bring a few comments that I got here. And a lot of people had some really positive comments. But then you get the same old, same old. I swear these people just go, video to video, spouting the same opinions. One guy, my trash talking account, kind of tells you right there, right? It's what he made his account for, just to come and talk trash. But he's right. He says, I'm no Mudvayne fan, but the guy's statement is completely valid. To pay money for a show ticket and get the experience they've been providing is insulting to the concept of commerce. So there's one. And then to which I replied, maybe, but obviously they did well with the stadium tour, as Kiss did on their end of the road tour. So if people want to go, they should have that option, right? Fair enough. And then I get another guy coming in on my reply. 18 Hot 30 says, you like being bamboozled? Your choice, but who is the bozo here? So, people, I'm under no misconception that bands are using tracks, right? So no, I'm not being bamboozled and I'm not a bozo. I know full well, as everybody does in this day and age. I mean, with social media and YouTube and every other avenue, none of this stuff is a secret to anybody who cares. And the people who may not know about tracks or whatever don't care, right? So let's see. What else do we got here? I agree with them. This is Corporal Hicks, who's a friend of the show. I'm not trying to single anybody out here, but I'm just bringing up the different takes here. Said, I agree with him about bowing out. They should have had the decency to do so when they signed the contract about not getting back together. That I agree with. Retiring and unretiring is a whole different argument, but that one I agree with. All this latest Kiss act, to call it something, he says, no offense to your beloved Kiss, none taken. With all the back and forth between who sings, who mimes, and who writes songs, etc., it just proves it. Besides, when all people want to hear are your old tunes, which you can't sing anymore, I say pack it up. Didn't help that Mick left the band. I agree with a lot of what he's saying there. Unlike some of these other guys, at least he comes back with logic. It gets back to what's called a legacy act, or a, legitimate current writing band. And if people want to be a legacy act, that's fine. Just don't complain about it like Warrant, right? It's no different than, the Beatlemania or in Las Vegas, or the what do you call it? The Purple Rain, right? The Prince impersonator, or whatever. There's several Elvis impersonators, and there's touring bands. Darren just went to see, I think it was called A Night with Queen or something like that, a Queen tribute band. So it's okay for people who are not the band to go out and make a buck entertaining people playing these songs, but it's not okay for the actual band to go out and play their old songs. I don't agree with that. I would prefer that touring groups would still put out at least, if not full albums, at least a single here or there just to give the fans a bone. Whether or not they're going to want to hear it over their hits is not the point. At least you're giving something to the fans who are looking for, something else to chew on. Let's move on here. We got Vampire Jack 10. The mistake the crew made was going back to Vince. Don't get me wrong, I love those first 5 records, but the self-titled was fantastic, and I feel they should have stuck with that lineup. The stuff after Vince came back, poor, very poor. Again, I can't speak on the quality of Motley Crue albums and songs because I am not a diehard Motley Crue fan. I'm not even a knowledgeable Motley Crue fan past the first couple albums. So, whether I guess to me, when they brought Karabi in, I wouldn't have called it Motley Crue anymore. Y'all know my take. I'm a big if the singer's gone, the band's done. But, whatever. So that's another take. Let's see. Let's go to the newest because there's a couple I wanted to touch on here. Let's do this. Bear with me here. I just want to get all the comments out here as they deserve to be heard. Because it is what, basically inspired me to do this video. Okay, so here's another one. Robert Dice replied, I would rather remember the best in them, not their worst. Doesn't make sense. And I'll get back to, because I had that same feeling about Kiss. When they kicked out, this is Jamie McGill, when they kicked out Mick, that did it for me. Everyone knows he had a degenerative bone disease all his life and would reach a point where he can't tour anymore. He goes on to say, to treat him like they have is unforgivable. Again, I only see what's in the dirt sheets. I don't follow Motley Crue heavily. But it seemed to me like he made the choice that he wanted to stay in the recording Motley Crue, but not the touring Motley Crue. And I guess then what? Then you're going to have split fans, right? You're going to have, well, this ain't Motley Crue on tour. I'm not going to a concert, but I'll buy the album because Mick's there. I mean, I've seen it all with Kiss. I've seen the kind of illogical takes from fans, and everybody's got a right to take a side or have a preference, but at the end of the day, it's still your favorite band or a band you like or whatever. But, that's just my take. And I'm going to break and get into all this. Here's another one. Robert Dice replies, Vince, lose weight, stop eating, and stop singing. They're a crappy comeback band. Right? So I think you're getting the point here of what I've been seeing. My first thought here is, and I replied on some of these, I've said all those things, right? I've made fun of Hamburglar Vince, for coming back, a big fat poncho. I've made fun of his voice, but I mean, Vince was never good live, ever. I mean, there are certain singers who could just never, Axl Rose. You can like what you like on the studio albums. I don't prefer his sound at all, but man, I remember back in the late 80s, they had an MTV concert on and he sounded horrible. He's always sounded horrible live. Some of these vocals are created or crafted in the studio. They're not able to carry that to a live performance. So I've been on this, I've said for years coming up to the End of the Road tour before it was even announced that I got tired of seeing embarrassing video of Paul and his voice cracking. So I was saying, just retire, just man, keep your legacy intact. And then you get a little bit older and wiser as every year goes on, and you look around at the music scene, and there ain't much out there. I mean, you can have bands you like, Disturbed and Shinedown and whatever, but they're not the same, right? They never will be. I mean, so to me, I want to hang on to every last minute of what I consider to be the greatest genre and music of all time. And if it's got to be a little rough, then use some help. I have no problem with that. It's like Sebastian said about Kiss, Sebastian Bach, about these bands, in their 60s, 70s that have paid their dues, have sung their ass off for decades. He has no problem with them using help. He has a problem with these younger upstart bands or bands 3-4 albums in, still in their 30s, whatever, just, programming in their laptops and letting it go while they just play along with it. I mean, that's a different story, right? But my take is this, and this is what kind of made me change my tune on everything, including Kiss. I have seen a lot of concerts in my day. And I would give my eye tooth to be able to remember them. And I don't. And I've got a pretty steel trap memory when it comes to things that impacted my life. I don't remember phone numbers, names, faces, stuff like that, dates. But things that were a big part of my life, I remember. I have a very vivid video machine in my head where I can go back and play certain nights or certain, hanging out with friends or girlfriends or whatever. I got all that stuff. It's like Memorex. But I can honestly say that I started going to rock concerts at 10. By the time I was in junior high, 13 up, I was going, it was the hair metal explosion, right? We had concerts virtually every month. Some of my favorite acts of all time I saw on their first album, whether it was Kingdom Come, whether it was Britney Fox, whether it was Tesla, Warrant, Skid Row. I saw all of these great bands, Cinderella, Rat, Motley Crue. I've pretty much seen Tora Tora, Lynch Mob, Warrant, Slaughter, Winger, Faster Pussycat. The list is endless. And I never went to a concert once with a drop of alcohol in my system. Not once. Because I'm always of the vein that, why are these people so hammered ass drunk? They're not going to fucking remember it the next goddamn day. I've never taken an illegal drug in my life, so I've never been to a concert high. So saying that I have the memory I have, and I am substance free at these events, I don't really remember anything. I'll remember more events hanging outside the building beforehand, hanging with buddies. I'll remember stage shows, things like the barricade collapsing when I was in the front row of Stryper for In God We Trust tour. Certain things like that. But I honestly couldn't tell you how they sounded or what songs they sang. Now, there's probably people with better memories than me that can recollect that. But we're looking at, but I saw most of those in the mid 80s to early 90s, right? It's 2024. So whether they sounded good or bad was fucking irrelevant, right? And even saying that, what I do recall is bands that were terrible. Slaughter comes to mind. Now, I don't remember much other than the opening with Eye to Eye, outdoors venue in Fargo, North Dakota for Kiss Hot in the Shade. They were opening. And I was having a blast. I thought it was cool. I loved the light flashing to the camera sounds of Eye to Eye. It's about the extent of my memory. But I did see Slaughter a couple years ago, and I can't stop hearing how bad his voice was. How he was literally just screeching at the top of his lungs as loud as he possibly could. One of my favorite bands back in the day on their first album was Pretty Boy Floyd. And I always wanted to see him live. And then they never got to. But then as the internet became a thing and YouTube started growing and they had people putting videos up, I'm listening to what they sounded like back then, and it was fucking terrible. And it's still terrible. I saw Tom Kiefer, the Tom Kiefer Band at Rocktember in 2022. Loved the songs. He just oozed legend. I mean, it was so cool seeing him, but it was so painful hearing his voice and what has, happened to it. So I've come to the point where, you know what? I want to see these guys. Why? Because whether they're 40, 50, 60, or 70, they still entertain better than any band out there, Metallica included. Say what you want about how big of a band Metallica is. I've watched several different clips and stuff of them live over the years. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with guys who get out there in black T-shirts and a couple of, sweatbands around their wrist, standing there mailing it in. People, I just, showmanship is huge. You go back, Elvis, and I even made this comment to somebody. Look, if I would have had the chance to see Elvis, whether it was in the 50s or at the end, when he's all fat and bloated, sweat's pouring down, struggling, I still went. I'd have stood in line, give him my eye tooth to see Elvis live, because it's Elvis. It's a showman. It's a great show. It's a legend. So if I can have the best of both worlds, where they're still live, but they got to have some pre-recorded tracks to help them along, I'm absolutely fine with that. Who is it hurting? I am in the camp where I would rather do that than walk away going, God, what the fuck was that? And I really don't want to hear anymore. And I was one of these people. I don't want to hear these people any more than they shouldn't play. First of all, it's their life. It's their legacy. They have every right to do what they want to do with their career and their legacy. Second of all, the people who are hung up over this backtrack, you're like not even the 1%ers. You're like the half percenters. Because I promise you, nobody gives two shits who goes to these shows. They're just having fun. They're not going to remember, oh, he didn't sound just like he did in 85. Or, oh, his voice cracked. And I promise you, they're not going to have any clue if they're having some backtracks here and there, or if they're singing along full time to a backtrack, so it's almost like a dual voice, because I don't want to hear this miming and lip sync crap. That's 100% false. There may be a time where the backtrack is running and the singer gets distracted and looks over at another band member or gets caught up in his performance or something and doesn't mouth along with it. It doesn't mean he was lip syncing. That just means at that second he forgot and he was no longer singing with it. There is a huge distinction between lip syncing and tracking, and I'm done trying to make the argument. People just don't want to hear it. They think lip syncing is what's going on, and it's absolutely not. When somebody's CD starts skipping, then come talk to me about lip syncing. All right. Anyway, so the fact is, nobody should want to go hear somebody suck. And the band should be allowed to play. That's the argument of then they shouldn't play at all. What about all the people who want to hear them? Right? What about people who don't care? I was at that Rock Timber. There were so many bands there over 2 days. You know who had the most rowdy goddamn crowd was Stephen Pearcy from Rat. And I'm talking 18-year-old kids on up. Rowdy as hell, having the time of their life, singing round and round and stuff. They didn't listen to see if there was a backtrack. They didn't overanalyze it. And I promise you people, every one of you, even sinking douchebag on the internet, if there was no internet, if there was no phones on cameras, you would go to these shows and you would have no fucking idea. You would be none the wiser. And that's when you know it's not lip syncing, kids. It's not like, Paul Stanley or Motley Crue's getting up there and putting a CD in for Shout at the Devil or Detroit Rock City. You're not hearing Destroyer. Right? You're hearing some trouble spots that they pre-record before the tour so they have the help they need. So I don't understand it. I mean, I get people who say, well, that's not totally live. Okay. But what's the alternative? They go home, you never hear from them again, and we're left with Shinedown. That's what you want? You want to listen to 500 bands that sound just like freaking Metallica? We got Nickelback and Creed comebacks now because that's what we need. I mean, I just, you got to pick your battles, folks. And to me, I would rather hear a band with assistance than a band who's forever staining in my mind how horrible they sounded. I don't think I'll ever be able to look at Slaughter the same way again. It was that bad. And I've looked into other performances throughout the last couple of years to see if maybe he was just having a bad night, because that happens. No, that's just, he should use tracks to help him out. Tom Kiefer should be using tracks to help him out. Vince Neil should be using tracks to help him out. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying they should get up there and lip sync. I'm saying have the raw, re-recorded, not original recorded, re-recorded pre-tour vocals where you could sit down with your vocal coach and in a studio and smooth things out or whatever. Have that track playing and sing over the top of it. I have absolutely no problem with that. And to say that, the one thing that bothered me too was once they fired Mick Mars. Well, like I said, I heard he wanted to just be the touring or the recording guy. Not he didn't want to go on tour anymore. That was out of his mouth. So what's the band supposed to do? Have two different Motley Crues? One to record the albums and one to actually do the touring? Then you're going to have fans bitching about, well, that's not, Motley Crue because Mick's not on stage. So you can't please these people. And like I also said in there, Kiss went through guys with substance abuse, wouldn't show up, couldn't play, damn near passing out on stage, had to be walked out on stage, couldn't keep time in the pocket on the drums. They had a drummer battle with cancer. What's the band supposed to do? You have to carry. It's still their band. It's still their income. It's still their legacy. You can't have that attitude like I put in this comment. So what? Imagine you got a sports team and your best player or one of your best players, gets paralyzed or has a heart condition, has to retire. Should the whole fucking team just fold up and go home and just cease to exist? Oh, sorry. That city don't have a team anymore. I mean, come on, people. At what point in time can you just appreciate what these guys have done and what they're still trying to do, whether it's for their own financial benefit or whether it's to, give their fans something to go and have fun time doing? It's a win-win both ways. I guess I maybe because I am so narrow-minded at modern music and my tolerance for it and the lack of stage presence and there are no rock stars anymore, people. Make no mistake. Short of the Sebastian Bachs, the Tom Kiefers, the Vince Neils, Nikki Sixxes that are still holding on. Ain't no rock stars. Metallica ain't rock stars. They're a band. Rock stars an image. Unlike Ace Frehley, Rockstar is not a lifestyle of drugs and decadence and destroying hotel rooms. That's not a rock star. A rock star is an image. Look at Paul Stanley. It's very hard, even when the paparazzi bamboozles him and jumps him and comes out of the bushes while he's trying to walk from point A to his car, where he still doesn't look like a rock star, dressed like a rock star. A rock star is just in you. When Stephen Pearcy walked out on that stage 2 years ago, same with Tom Kiefer, I was just like, whoa, that's a fucking rock star. And that's gone, people. I don't care who you like, Disturbed, Cue Ball, if you like Shinedown, if you like fucking Metallica, if you like these are not rock stars. These are guys in a band. That's it. Making good money. They're famous. They're not rock stars. They're just not. Sorry. Our rock stars are barely hanging on with a thread because nobody takes music as seriously as these guys used to do, and people before them, whether it was Jimi Hendrix or the Beatles or Led Zeppelin or the Rolling Stones or whoever. These were all rock stars. They were larger than life entities. What we got now is a handful of mediocre musicians and singers that play in bands and get millions of fans through TikTok and fucking Spotify and whatever. They're not out there combing record stores. They're not out there buying posters. They're not out there buying all the fucking merch short of, a $50 overpriced t-shirt at the concert day of. Right? That following is gone, and it's gone for a reason. They don't present themselves as larger than life anymore. These guys all get up there like they just, got done, shopping at the mall, t-shirt, jeans, and that's it. That's how they get on stage. I watched one band on my other reaction channel. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. 3 or 4 of these goddamn guys were out there in fucking hoodies. I mean, what the fuck? So I'm going to go and watch my rock stars. I'll go to Motley Crue at this point, even though I don't like their songs. I'll go to Aerosmith right now, even though I don't like their songs. Why? Because we're not going to see this anymore. Very soon, this is going to be gone, and we're going to be left with a sea of average Joes up on stage playing songs that nobody really cares about. They only fucking know them because it's the popular thing to stream. There's no more diehard followings for every, major act out there. It is strictly the cool hip thing to do until the next hip thing to do comes out. Why do you think Creed and Nickelback disappeared? Now they're coming back. That would have never happened if they had the Kiss Army. That would have never happened if they would have had a large cult following. And you ain't going to get that by looking just like the fan. I don't want to sit there and idolize someone who looks just like me. I'm just a putz. I'm a regular Joe who works 8 to 5. I want to see someone larger than life. And that's gone. So if Motley Crue needs help, go get them. If Kiss needed help, go get them. As long as they're not 100% sitting behind unmiked drums, unmiked guitars, and unmiked microphones for the vocalist, just playing along Milli Vanilli style, I have no problems with it. Take all the help you need as long as you're still giving me something live, but most importantly, you're entertaining me as rock stars, as I remembered. So much is fixed upon the fact that these guys may or may not be able to vocally do it anymore that you're completely missing the fact that these guys in their 60s and 70s are still running around doing more than you fuckers could do at 20. In Kiss's fucking case, with 40, 50 fucking pounds of fucking outfit on. You get up there on a stage under hot spotlights and run around with a guitar strapped around your fucking neck or pound your fucking arms up and down on a drum for an hour and a half when you're 60 years old. Picture any of your parents doing this. Come on, people. Where's the appreciation for what they still have instead of nitpicking on what they don't? These bands on their worst day are better than today's most popular bands on their best day. And I stand by that. And nobody's going to talk me out of it. Because I've seen this newer garbage. Not live, granted, in person, but on YouTube. Because I'm one who doesn't like to dog somebody unless I know what I'm talking about. So I've watched all this crap. This flavor of the month shit. And when I say flavor of the month, don't come back at me and say, well, this band's been around for 10 years. Okay, they've been around for 10 fucking years playing clubs. And then fucking eventually, I'm saying flavor of the month being you ain't been a household name for 10 plus fucking years. You've been playing clubs. You've been struggling to make it. And then you got your 15 minutes of current fame. That is flavor of the month. So, whatever. Hopefully I don't have to come up with this again, but this one just rubbed me the wrong way. And it's really surprising me because of the disrespect I'm actually been defending Motley Crue. And that really pisses me off that I have to do that. But if everybody out there my age who grew up with stuff takes that attitude, well, that's what they think. That's what they think we hear. You're just going to let them run our fucking generation of music right into the fucking mud. Instead of taking this passive attitude, how about when somebody presents that crap to you, a friend, a coworker, call them on it. Show me what's better. How many albums have they sold? How many tours have they done? But I guess I'm a rare fighter, and I will fight this fight till the end. I will fly the hair metal flag proud and loud. So, until next time, thanks for watching.